Welcome, dogs. Get your goggles, get your tightest lycra tri-suit, put on those compression socks. Why be good at one sport if you can be shit at three? This is the Triathlon Mockery podcast. Yes, boom, bang, bats, baby. It is 2025 when you're listening to this podcast, and Joe and I are still recording it in 2024 because it's the 31st of December. We've had our Christmas days. I've had a Hyrox in Frankfurt. Joe has been grafting over winter in Norwich, and now we're still out here with the podcast after a couple of days with the holidays. Now, matey, how's it going?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Just, it was going really well, and then I did get a little bit of illness like a few days ago, so I'm battling through that. It's been kind of like one day feeling great, and next day feeling a bit wiped, but yeah.
Because you had planned something like a marathon over Christmas, right?
Yeah, I was fucking livid, mate, like that I couldn't do that, but I might be doing it in on the 2nd or 3rd of January, so potentially when this comes out. It depends how I feel, though. If I don't feel like I'm fully recovered by then I won't. I just have to put it off and do it next year because I want to get back into training, and you can't do it unless you're like 100% because it's just going to completely wipe you. But I was really looking forward to doing it, and ideally it would have been great to do it when I was planning on doing it was like the 28th or 29th of December. I think it was the 29th of December.
Why then? To burn the excess calories?
It just looked like a good day. Like the weather looked good, and it's in between Christmas and New Year, and not much is going on, is it? So it would have just fitted in really, really well.
So some people are doing the Festive 500, and you're doing the Joe Skipper Marathon.
Yeah, I had about 15, 20 people turn up for it as well. Like I ended up just doing a half marathon with one of my friends in the end.
Okay, yeah, that doesn't really count, right? Half marathon.
No, but like. When you've told everyone that you're going to do it and they're all going to come, you've kind of got to show your face.
yeah, of course. No, I'm kidding. Half marathon for a lot of people, Joe, is still a big achievement.
I didn't even think I was going to be able to do like more than a mile or two because it was not the day before, but it was the day before that when I was really, really ill, like felt absolutely awful. And then the next day I felt really depleted and could tell I was kind of getting over it, but felt like that. So I was like, well, I'm definitely not going to be able to do a marathon feeling like this, but I might be able to do like 3 or 4 miles. So I just said to some of them, I'm not doing the marathon, but I'll go up there for a run. And then my friend wanted to do a half marathon, try to run 4-minute Ks. So I thought, that'll be a good target. I'll do like some with him. And then if I feel bad, because it's on a short loop, I'll just take a cut through because there's a shortcut you can take and then join back in. But I actually felt absolutely awesome when I was running, and I probably could have done the marathon there and then, but it would have definitely messed me up because even the next day after just doing a half marathon, not that hard, I felt pretty depleted. So yeah, it was definitely the right decision not to do it. But I did feel superb after the.
Would you say you took Christmas a bit too hard, and then your immune system was down, and it got you?
Too hard? What, like training wise? Too hard?
No, like the buffet.
Oh no, like I mean, I didn't really like overeat like that. I was trying to keep on racing weight, mate, so I could do a good marathon.
now that we're in 2025, before we're talking about goals, let's do some personality reflection. What have you learned in 2024 that you taking with you?
I don't know really. What about you? You go first and like set the tone.
Well, one thing I've been doing I think a month ago I was thinking like, what is the happiest I've been over the last 5 years? And I think it was actually the period during when you did sub 7 and I went to the World Champs in St. George, and that was at a time that I was making a lot of content and I was taking the sport serious, but myself not too serious. And I was actually not really, because I had COVID before that, so I wasn't really fit for races. But I was the happiest I was over the last couple of years because I really was doing what I loved doing. That was like making content, whether it was for Triathlon Mockery, making the videos with Pepe, also traveling to races, some training camps. And taking that into a bit of a bigger line, as in the future. You all know now that I've decided to stop in 2025.
Are you definitely deciding to stop?
Yeah,
Then
I mean, on a professional level, yeah, I do honestly, yeah.
what about in 2026?
So also
Would
in
you?
2026, I mean, I would still race as an age grouper probably, but not as the way I'm doing it now. Because also I was chatting to someone and that was saying, why don't you do so many triathlons, but you do Hyrox untrained, and afterwards you have a lot of joy doing it? And I said that's true. I said the reason why is you
But that's
can't.
what I said to you for ages. I said to you before the Hyrox that you would enjoy it,
I
and that,
know, I know, but this is not about the Hyrox itself, but more about the triathlon races. You cannot really do as a professional a triathlon race when you're not in peak form. As in, if I would do an Ironman when I'm not in peak form, I would come in like 20th. It would have consequences. For example, if you have a couple of bad results, then for me it could be that I'm not getting a pro license again. I mean, you are um, um, racing on a top level for years, so it's not a question in your case. But for me, it could have like big consequences. And also, in the end, I just don't enjoy it, I think, as much. I think I enjoy the journey more, and also making the content and making the fun more than. And of course, this year I'm still going to enjoy it to the max, the professional racing. But I think it just takes a lot of pressure away, and for me, it's time to make a step into a different direction.
so what?
We're going to talk about, for example, Ruth Assel's video that she talked about what she made as a professional. And I think in your case, you can say that being a professional athlete is your job, right?
Yeah,
Because you're making money with being a professional athlete. And in a good year, you're making a really good salary. And in a year that you don't, then you rely on sponsor money. And in my case, it would be that the same as in a lot of other athletes' case, it's just hard to make a living. Is it then a sport or a hobby?
I think it's got a lot worse though, hasn't it? Now,
It has got worse, yeah.
a lot worse. Like when did you first started in 2018, didn't you? Like that was when I first met you in Kona.
Yeah,
That
as an amateur, yeah.
and you were sponsored by some crypto guy back then, weren't you?
Yeah,
And
true.
in 2019, you must have. If that guy's probably minted now,
Yeah, he is.
it's probably like. um, is that guy still doing crypto? By the way, like
I think he is, but he
he is.
fucked off to
He's probably
Dubai.
yeah, he's probably doing really really well. You should hit him back up again now. Uh, But like back then, like in 2019, like so the year like after I first met you, you managed to get some sponsors, I'm pretty sure, didn't you? And you
Yeah,
were racing as an age grouper still.
yeah,
Whereas now, like that would be like impossible probably for an amateur to get like actual paying sponsors, wouldn't it? Don't you think? Like you probably had better sponsors back then in 2019 than a lot of pros do now.
yeah,
Which
yeah. I
is
think so. Yeah, yeah.
like, and bearing in mind of inflation as well. So you think, if you were getting 4 or 5 grand from a sponsor back then, it should be after inflation now probably like 6 or 7 grand.
Yeah.
And like I actually think like sponsorships are getting lower per year from what I'm seeing for people. Well, I know they are. They're getting a lot less for the majority of pros. And then obviously when you take into account inflation, that's even a lot lower. And it just seems like it's not getting any better. And I think like a lot of athletes are going to really struggle with that because how can you afford to go around the world? You're racing triathlons that are getting more and more competitive, aren't they?
Hmm.
Like the
Yeah.
racing. So, and the prize money is not going up. Like I would actually say it's harder to make a living now from triathlon than what it was when I first started racing pro in 2015. When I first started racing in 2015, there were so many more Ironmans around the scene that, you could have got, like, in your standard, could have gone to some pro races and you'd be battling for top fives, potentially top threes, and you'd be
Hmm.
able to get like some prize money, battling for some prize money. And then that would really help you because then you can use it to try and get sponsors or you can pay for your trip. If you'd have got like
Exactly.
four,
Yeah.
you could like cover your costs, and then it can help you do it. Whereas now, a lot of the athletes, they're like getting hardly any money from sponsors. They go to a race, can't get into prize money because it's just ridiculously hard to get into prize money. You've got 70 athletes turning up to a start line, prize money down to like 7th place, and even if you get 7th or 8th place, you get $1,000 when your air flights cost $1,000. Then you've got your accommodation on top,
Yeah.
you've got your food while you're there, you've got everything else. So they get 8th place and they're still down like £1,500. And how can they afford to do that and pay and try and get a house, pay for all their costs back home as well? It's impossible.
Yeah, yeah, you need to make at least 80 to 100 grand bare minimum to if you want to also being able to afford your mortgage, etc. Maybe if you have kids, at the very least, and also pay for the trips. But anyway, that's so for 25 for me. I'm really much looking forward to it. As in, I've got the 3 big goals. The Ironman sub 8. I wanna run that marathon. I'm gonna run it in April, but I think I'm gonna target the sub 2:30 in October. In Amsterdam, might be a bit too soon in April. I don't know. And then the Hyrox and Fab in sub 1 hour. So those are the 3 goals. And besides that, obviously we're now literally days away from, in the next podcast, I'm going to share that pre-launch link for the company that I've been setting up over last year. And that's something I'm going to focus on this year and the coming years. And then, slowly moving away from professional sport. So, I'm very much looking forward to 2025, really. And I think, especially because I think a couple of years I've been taking the sports too serious, because of course you're starting as a professional, you really want to perform, and then afterwards you can see that it might be a bit then you start to lose the joy in what you're doing, and that in the end is the most important thing.
But don't you think there used to be a lot more fun events around? The Ironman are like cutting the events and stuff like that, and some of the athletes are a lot more serious. Like I feel like there used to be a lot more of a social at the events, don't you think? With the
Yeah,
athletes, like,
yeah.
meet up a lot more for training and stuff. Now, when you go to an event, you never see hardly any of the other athletes. Well, I don't. Do you feel
Yeah,
like that?
not a lot. Yeah, yeah. I think it's gone pretty serious, and a lot of the races that are there now are for example, the Ironman Tour races, and these fields are absolutely crazy stacked. I don't, just a lot of the iconic races that I liked in the past and that suited me really well just disappeared from the calendar. Really, from Cork to Bolton to
Yeah,
Kalmar to whatever. There's absolutely shitloads. Hamburg. I think there's at least like 15 great races.
there's a lot of races that have been cut from the calendar, and that's
Yeah,
why I think a lot of people are going to struggle, because there's just hardly any races for people that are mid tier to even make a living. They're not even going to get any prize money. Like they're going to be screwed. Yeah, and there's no backup plan, is there?
nope,
For,
nope,
for
nope, nope.
like the stuff they can do.
So
Um,
how do you reflect on it then? How you? I mean, 2024 was race wise a tough year for you.
yeah, yeah, it was a terrible year. It was probably my worst year I've had. I'm just looking forward to putting it behind me. Really, I've
Hmm.
just been training hard since obviously started off training when we went to Austria. Um, that was when I kind of started really my prep for this year.
Yeah,
Because I'd had quite a big break going into that, like 3 or 4 weeks off. So I've just been training hard and just been doing 3 weeks on, 1 week off, ticking over. Fitness is coming along quite nicely, and I'm just looking forward to building up for New Zealand, mate. Like my main thing was just putting 2024 behind me and
yeah,
looking to have a good year next year.
yeah. Of course, of course. And can you drive motivation of this year then that you're thinking like, for
Um,
the big dogs coming?
Yeah, I mean, I am. Yeah, I mean, I'm really motivated anyway. Like, I don't really need to drive the motivation from this year, but
Hmm.
like, I would really like to. I really want to get on the top step again, like win another Ironman, and just do really well and just mix it up. And that I don't really like. I don't know, like feel like I need to use it for motivation, because I feel like I'm really motivated in myself, and I kind of get like motivation from the process. Like from doing a good 3 weeks training,
Hmm.
that kind of makes me more
I mean,
motivated.
that's the best. That's the best thing there is. That's how do they call this? Intrinsic motivation.
Intrinsic. Yeah, I
Intrinsic
get
motivation.
motivated from like if I do a good session, I think, oh God, that was good. That felt so much easier than what it did like 2 weeks ago. Oh, if I keep, and then if I get a good week's training, I think, oh, if I can get another few more weeks like this, and I'll be even fitter. And I kind of get motivation from having some good momentum.
Mm-hmm.
not like thinking, oh, this year was terrible. I want to do well. I'm really motivated because I want to show them right. I do get motivated from when you see like, so I mean, it's a mix. On social media, it can be like quite toxic, but sometimes you get like comments and like people are kind of like casting you off and writing you down. You see like a message or something, and you think, oh, I can't believe he's fucking said that about me. I'll show him, kind of thing. Like,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like
yeah.
on your shoulder, and you think, like, and you think about it, and I do think about it when I'm training and stuff like that, and sometimes, but I guess I think about it when you're in the middle of a hard set, and you've seen someone who on like flipping Instagram or a YouTube who's like slated you or something, or someone
Mm-hmm.
said something. I kind of use that to get through the hard sessions and when things are getting tough, but not for like the day to day motivation. So I guess I reflect on a load of different things. The day to day motivation is more about following the process and getting confident and motivated with how well things are going and stuff like that. And then like getting through like a hard session, I'd normally use like the motivation if someone's like said something bad and you think, oh, I can't wait for, like I want to use that as to fuel the fire, like, oh, I'm going to use this to get me through this session, this interval. You get the point when you're doing a hard interval and you feel like, God, I'm going to have to stop. I'm going to have to stop. And then you think about like what some knob on like fucking Instagram said, and you think, no, fuck that. Like, I'm not stopping. Like this is where it counts. You're in the zone, and then you get it done, and then
And
yeah,
and 100%, that is like a fresh graft what you've got within you. And I remember in the first couple of years, I had the same. Like I could literally do hours on the trainer, and I was like motivated every day. But now, and the difference is financially, well, also a bit performance, but um, it gives me stress that this for me isn't future proof. I'm like I've got an international master degree, and I'm not making a living currently. Like I can pay for my rent and I can pay for the races, but I need to do like a lot of work on top of it to make a living. And it's not future proof. And in the end, I want to buy a house. I want to have a family. And and if you want all that, you need to have money, and you want to take someone out for dinner, etc. And that is something that gives me a crazy amount of stress, and that makes me not want to work out, but want to do something and start something that is future proof. Like work on the next step. Because in my case, it's more like if I can train for maybe 7 hours 50, that I wouldn't reach next year, but the year after, or maybe the year after that. And I could look for like another 4 years, but then I'm like mid 30s, and I wouldn't have built something what you have. You've already got a family. You're making a living in the sport, so it's like it's your work, and that is a big difference. And I think a lot of other pros have this as well.
so you can't. So that's interesting. Then, so you get a lot of stress from being from the financial bit, and that
Oh,
instead of
crazy.
like motivating you, that actually works the opposite, and you think like, oh fuck, like you think about it, and then that takes your mind off the game, and like you get a
For
bit worried,
example,
anxious.
um, I don't even know whether because I couldn't get to them over the last couple of literally 3 months, whether some sponsors, and they're more like private sponsors, are going ahead, and that makes a huge difference. And if they don't go ahead, then of course you need to fill in that gap, because you need to pay the rent at the end of the month, or your car insurance or health insurance. And yeah, that those are all the basics. And I mean, in the end it will work out, but then you need to make changes in life.
Yeah,
And that's just something that you then need to think about. And that's why sometimes you see a great professional that has that wouldn't win races but come in podium top five, that suddenly all of a sudden retires. Think of Patrick Nielsen. Think of in the past, what was his name? Something like a Kung. Remember in the days you had this Kung guy. He was pretty good, but these types, they're like not good enough to have great sponsors, and they continue for a couple of years, and then at some point they need to make a decision like, yeah, well, I need to build a life, and currently I'm not doing that. So I mean, in the end, everyone wants to do triathlon full time and travel the world and train all day and not worry about other stuff. But for a lot of people, it's just not the reality, and it is like a huge privilege.
yeah. So did you hear back from your sponsors? Are they going ahead, or have you still not heard back yet?
I made no clue yet.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You,
yeah.
you know this. going changing it slightly off topic, but you know the Hyrox that you did.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, like, because no, with the listeners haven't heard about it, have they? You know, like the latest they knew was that you
So
were doing.
the last episode that we did was something like the 10th of December, and you just did Hyrox Manchester. And you said something like, you need to do one. I said, all right, I'll do one in February. And you said, no, you need to do one now, untrained, because otherwise you'll be prepared. So that was a bit of the challenge. So I posted up on my story, and someone got me a ticket. His name is Jan. It's not Janis Frodino, but thanks, Jan. I know you're listening.
Thanks, Jan, for stitching me up. Jan just wanted to see you suffer.
And I was able to do the Hyrox Frankfurt, and I must say, yes, mate, it's a cold. I flippin' loved it. I absolutely loved it, but mate, it's grim.
Before you go into it, I just want to say to the listeners, just imagine, guys, you're doing a Hyrox, and the only two bits of kit you need are a pair of shorts and a pair of run shoes. What do you think Tom forgot? What did you forget? Like, that's your only bit. It's not a triathlon where you've got like wetsuit, goggles, swim hat, swim training stuff. You need your bike shoes, your bike helmet, like all your bottles, everything. It's just a pair of run shorts, because you don't even need a t-shirt, like, and a pair of run trainers.
I know, it's crazy. I forgot my run shoes, but I left them outside my house in a bag when I locked the flipping door. So I had to buy something at the expo literally 30 minutes before the race.
Tell us about the expo hack, though. So first of all, you go to them. Can I buy? You were taking the piss, weren't you?
They've got these. So they've got this Puma stand. So I found out on Friday evening, like at literally 2:08, when all the stores were closed, that I forgot my shoes. So then someone said, you can find something at the expo. So I went down the expo, and they've got these shoes what you can try. So it said, oh, I really like these ones. Can I try them for the race to see if they they fit me?
You can try them first. Then they actually advertise that.
Yeah, you can try them literally there at the stand.
All right, yeah. Can I try them for the race?
So I was like, can I try it for a couple of reps during the race to see what they're like? And he's like, nope. So I ended up buying a couple of these. Flipping 240 quid then.
Yeah, but then took them back after the race. So it was basically, I mean, that is like an absolute hack. Could you imagine a marathon runner going into the run shop? Like they get some like flipping run shoes, so they use them for the marathon, then take them back after and said, yeah, sorry, shoes didn't fit. You just run like a flipping marathon in them. I thought that was an absolute hack. That was like the Tom Oosterdijk Hyrox fresh shoe hack. Like, didn't even have to bother taking the shoes back, did you? You traveled light.
He had like 20 or 30 pairs of really old run shoes there that he could literally borrow me, and I used them in the YouTube video, so he would have gotten some promotion. But anyway, because they were from the Pumas. Yeah, I love that Hyrox, and I remember because I took a little bit of your advice in consideration, that you were saying don't take the reps too hard, like the run reps. So I ran them around 45k pace. And a lot of the sets, I think they were quite all right. But the burpees, mate, oh my God, like they killed me. And the wall balls, like we're just physically, I mean, if you're untrained, your arms are just not trained enough to keep them above your head. Like
that's what it was, because I couldn't think about what part of the wall ball I just found hard, but I know it just felt brutal. But is that what it is?
Just holding the hands above your head and then just constantly doing this? I mean, we've got strong arms and back from the what's it called? Swimming.
By the time you get there, aren't you, as well?
Sorry?
By the time you get to the wall balls, you're pretty smashed, even if you're breaking it like within yourself, because the certain exercises force you to go into the breakdown.
My judge was kind of grim as well, because she told me to move the ass to the grass. So I was literally doing flipping ass to the grass squats. Did you see that on the video? And then someone afterwards was like, what were you doing? You only have to do 90 degrees. I said, well, she told me to, and I had no clue what to do. So, and it's a combination with the arms above your head. I don't know, but it was fun. It was fun though. And I think it's a good session also for a triathlete to mix stuff up in the winter. And when I do an event like this, I just get a lot of energy. And afterwards, I'm thinking like, I love sports. I love to work out, and I love triathlon. So it's nothing got to do with that I'm stepping back from professional sports after August. It's more like And it's also like I want to do more events, but just different events, just not because an Ironman you can only do an X amount a year if you want to do them well. And if you're a Joe Skipper, you can do 5 or 6 of them because you recover after like 3 days. But a normal person can't do that.
Will you do more on social media, like like YouTube, like or not, like?
I'm gonna try. I want to try. But the thing is, I've got to do it all. I'm not doing it with a videographer because they nowadays ask. I was spoke to Joe about this. A videographer for a video asks something like, what is it? 600 between 600 and 1,200 euros for one video. It's flipping nuts.
Yeah, well, they wanted more than that, didn't they, for the Hyrox? Didn't they?
Yeah,
Just to film the Hyrox, they wanted like, was it like after tax, like 900 euros just
yeah.
to like film an hour event when it's all like in line or in order as well, isn't
An
it?
hour event exactly in the editing. So then I'll just do it myself. But it just takes time.
Um, if you had to do a Hyrox and you had to race David Goggins, who do you think would win?
I think I would win
How do you think you'd put him down?
because
Like,
he's just really great at junk miles, but I don't think he's got a lot of speed.
and do you think he would even be that much stronger than you on the stations?
Yeah, a couple of them.
He,
Yeah, he would.
so, like, if you went through it, so say you were racing Goggins, the first kilometre he might be with you because he'd go out with you, wouldn't he? He's not going to try and let you get away.
I don't know. He's pretty muscular and big. I think because the first K I did him 320. So
So you reckon so you'd have put him away then in the first K, and then the ski erg. I'd imagine he'd be all right on the ski erg. I'd imagine he'd be like,
yeah, but you can't win a lot of time on a ski erg, and I did it in like 355ish or 352, something like that. So
yeah, I think you'd probably put Goggins away, especially with a bit of training. Like people look up to him as like a god, though, don't they?
I mean, he does some crazy shit, and I think
What's crazy though, doesn't he just run a load of shit junk miles?
yeah, but it's more like the motivation where he's like, oh, all right, I'm just gonna run 300 miles right now. Where like for what and how and why and in rain, just so many questions, and he just does it. I think.
But does he do it? He
Huh?
might just film it on social media and then he goes back home and has a pint with his missus and just like, oh, that was a good video today. Like,
Another video went viral.
yeah, like all he does is all you necessarily know that he does without is literally just run,
but
chat for 5 minutes while he's running next to the car,
but
and then
all the cheeky quotes, what he's able to produce with no break, one after another, that's a skill.
that's the skill. Yeah,
That is
it's
a
just
skill.
like, that's the skill. It's just coming out with the quotes. But his missus has probably got a whiteboard in the car behind her while she's filming, so he just
But
reads them.
that's the thing that a lot of people derive. You don't always need to derive motivation from a world champion. Sometimes you can derive motivation from your neighbor who's lost 20 kilos and ran his first 10K. Sometimes even I derive motivation from a lot of people that are like more of amateur athletes, because I can see him getting up in the rain at 5 a.m. doing a grim workout before work. I'm thinking like, yeah, that's my boy, he's getting after it. And that makes me want to train as well sometimes.
They must follow Goggins.
They must follow Goggins. But that's also, he is an example for a lot of people as you're hanging and I am hanging around with a lot of triathletes, and everyone that's doing triathlon is already disciplined because you're doing 3 disciplines. You need to train 10 hours at the very least a week or 8, which is already a lot. So these people, they look up to Goggins and they just think like, wow, he's just so dedicated. And all these words, what he's saying, and that just brings motivation to them. That's why he's so popular.
Going back to triathlon then, what is your performance of the year from this year?
Yeah. I
Have you
mean,
had?
it could have been Almere because I was.
Oh, this is yours. This is your performance of the
Oh,
year.
you're talking about David Goggins' performance of the year?
I was like thinking like, all right, so you can
Oh,
pick your performance of the year, but I'm thinking, like looking back at the year, like triathlon, like at other triathletes, like professional triathlon wise, what was your performance? What would you say was the performance of the year? Because you didn't race much, did you? So you didn't have many opportunities to, did you?
no, because I had to build up this January to like, I'd like to build up this year, but
Looking at the whole year, so you could even pick like Olympic distance. You could pick the Olympic
what I
triathlon.
think was the performance of the year. I don't know. I don't really think. Yeah, I think there was a load of performances of the year. like from the Olympics. I found the Olympics really exciting. To Ironman World Champs this year, found it really exciting. Um, I don't
That's
know.
actually probably got to be one of the performances of the year. Actually, going back to the World Champs, it's
Yeah,
probably
right.
Patrick Banks because it was everyone was there and he won by like 8 minutes.
Yeah,
Like it was just dominating, wasn't it?
yeah.
Whereas there isn't like certainly in the males. Was there another performance of the year where everyone or loads of hitters were there and someone won so easily by so many minutes? It just doesn't really happen. Women wise, it's obviously Taylor Knibb, isn't it? One of the races that she's done. I mean, like she's like smashing everyone in every single race. So you'd have to pick. You could just pick any race from Taylor Knibb, really, couldn't you? And just
Yeah.
like that, no one else is in the same postcode. Um,
Crazy how she is just so on top of the rest, don't you think?
yeah, I mean, it makes it a bit boring to watch because you're just watching someone 10 minutes ahead, or you're watching like the best of the rest fight it out, aren't you? If
But
she was that
isn't it the same in cycling?
in the women's,
No, and also in the men's field with Pogacar, you know.
yeah, well, Pogacar does it in the men's, doesn't he? When he's there and you know it's a hilly race, it's pretty much a one trick.
And it's still fun to watch. So, and also
But I think it's different in cycling though because you're waiting for that attack, whereas in triathlon you don't see that attack. It's just someone riding slightly faster than someone else, and the gap gradually going out. Whereas at
Mhm.
least in like cycling, it's explosive and you feel the energy, and it's like for instance, like you watch Milan San Remo or a classic. You know, there's certain points where it's going to happen. In San Remo, you know it's going to be on the last climb, don't you? So it's like you're waiting for that. You're waiting for that build up, and Pogacar is going to attack. And it's like, will the others be able to go with him? Will they, will they be able to cover him or not? And it's like when you see that excitement and that punch is full on, isn't it? And they're on the limit. Whereas in triathlon, it's like they're just riding a TT slightly faster. It's not like there's that big burst of energy, is there?
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean,
You
it's hard to
need hillier courses and
make
stuff like that,
triathlon
don't you? Really?
look really exciting, like the
Well, I
way
think
it
you
currently is.
because the courses are flat and boring. It would be like if you had road cycling and you had really flat and boring courses, it would be naff to watch, wouldn't it?
Hmm.
Like the Abu Dhabi tour and stuff like that. If you watch a tour, a
Tour
stage race,
Roman.
yeah, like if you watch a stage race and they're racing on flat, boring roads, big roads, it's incredibly boring to watch cycling races like that. You need like hills and you need stuff like that, don't you, to break it up? I
Hmm.
think, but unfortunately, triathlon they just keep using the same kind of boring courses, and that's part of the problem, really, isn't it? Because the best triathlon course we had this year in like high level one was probably the Alcatraz triathlon, and we got a freeway sprint between Kyle Smith, Rico Bogan, and Martin Van Riel,
That was
and it was
exciting.
attacking on the climbs, and
Yeah.
so it just showed. But then in the women's race, Taylor Knibb just rode off and was about 5 minutes ahead.
But I don't think there's a performance of the year. That's also because there are just so many iconic moments, in the sport. Just and also what you're seeing with Taylor Knibb, always like once in an X amount of years, you just have a certain athlete that is just um, superb and changing the way a sport is being raced. That back in the days you also had, well, back in the days up until like last year, you had Daniela Reeve. She won
Do you,
everything for years.
do you know what my best athletic performance of the year was in like all sports? Was Jakob Ingebrigtsen's 3,000 meter world record.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, 58 seconds, a 400 for 7.5 laps back to
that
back.
is almost as fast as the 400 meter that Richard Murray did during the 5K.
The what? The 400.
The first 400 that he went through.
Yeah. Don't you think that's incredible, though? Like
Yes, no.
14,
Yeah,
14 seconds, 14.5 seconds for 100 meters, and you're doing 30 of them
yeah,
with
yeah,
no rest. It's literally, I mean, if you get someone to run, you go to your local track and you run a 14.5 second 100 meters, and you'll feel like you're almost at a sprint, and you think you're doing 30 of them back to back. Like, just to get your head around that, is just absolutely nuts to be running around a 400-meter track that many times, that fast. Like, and it wasn't even in good weather. It was like 28, 30 degrees, sunny. It was like still a hot day as well. Like, there's definitely more he could have done. I thought that was such a mind-boggling performance. I would actually say that I think that is better than a 2 hour marathon. 58 for 3K.
Yeah, it's just completely different, you know. I
Completely
mean, also when
different.
I see the people
Sprint,
doing,
man. Sprint for 7 minutes.
yeah, but what about the people who swim with no arms and legs and who do it in like a 50 meter in like what do in like what is it?
Oh, mate,
20.
that guy who's got no arms is quicker than me. Like
Yeah,
from
but
it.
that's also crazy, you know.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah, it's very impressive. Like because we couldn't believe when we saw that how that guy would put us away. But yeah, he would just.
I think the world record has been broken. Like I wrote it down. I think I wrote this down for you. Um, where did I write this down?
What would be yours then? So if you had to pick like an athletic performance across all sports, could be anything, could like be UFC for all we know, something that you've seen on TV and you thought was absolutely incredible this
Oh,
year.
I watched a lot of the Olympics, and a lot of it, I think. Um, but what was something that I found really incredible? I always like to watch winter sports, so like skiing, cross country skiing, ski jump. Oh, what else? That was not Olympics though this year.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't have to be an Olympics. It can
I
be
know,
any
I
sport.
just I can watch all kinds of sports apart from football though. Now I'm watching a lot of darts. I want to go to London next year to watch it. Darts,
Oh my god, do you really?
mate, I fucking love it.
One of my friends had 2 tickets for that he was trying to get some people to have.
Really? Oh, you
Yeah,
could have called me. Like I wanted to go.
really.
Yeah, 100%. Like I love darts. I really like it. Yeah. For me, it's always like a Christmas treat, you know. Christmas and New Year's comes around, and then so, mate. But we've got all the giants: Raymond van Barneveld, Michael van Gerwen, Rick van Duivenbode. And we, no,
Best sporting moment is the darts at Ali Pally.
it's just relaxing. You're just sitting there with Christmas. You just had that big feisty chicken in your tummy, and then you're watching a bit of darts.
So if you were going to the darts, would you get dressed up as well? Because that's what they
Yeah,
all do.
100%. It's part of the cult. You got to
Yeah.
embrace the cult. You're always embracing the cult. You're doing a Hyrox with no shirt. Who's
Oh
embracing the
yeah.
cult?
You've got to. Next time I'm going to get a tattoo on me with like ESN, like so
I
I
was
fit in.
like, do you know, I rocked up at Hyrox Frankfurt, and I walked around the expo, and all of a sudden I saw this guy. He was like only wearing shorts. He was ripped as anything. He was covered in baby oil. Who do you reckon it was? And he had an ESN tattoo.
Sebastian Keenly.
It was
No,
Andy
it
Drites.
was actually right. Yeah. Was he actually covered in baby oil?
Afterwards, he said he wasn't, but he looked a
He's
bit
never
too
going to
shiny
admit
to
that,
me.
though, is he?
Sorry?
He's never going to admit that he was covered in baby oil.
But he smashed it though. He did something like an hour, but then it doesn't count because he went on a training camp to Gran Canaria on a Hyrox ESN training camp.
That's cheating, isn't it?
That is
He
cheating.
trained
It
for
doesn't
it.
count.
He's actually trained for it.
When are we doing the doubles?
At the end of the year, after
Yeah,
the triathlons, I would do one in London if you're up for it.
yeah. We could do a doubles, a
We like
single and a
that.
double one.
Yeah, we'll enter it on the same weekend.
I think that would be really fun. But what are your goals then for this year, 2025? Coming in hot. We're there now.
Well, so obviously, starting off with New Zealand, I want to try and win it. That's my first big goal, and then
Hmm.
go to South Africa, which is the Pro Series one. And to be honest, I just want to get in good form for New Zealand, and then depending on how that goes, I'll set my goals for South Africa.
Yeah.
But the main thing is just making sure that you literally just do all the training you can as good as you can, and then I'll play it by ear, depending on how the race goes. But it's hard to say like you want to win this or you want to win that because you kind of like can't control what anyone else does, can you? You know, like
Hmm.
you can get in your best form you can be in, and if you perform as well as what you can, hopefully that will be good enough to win it. But you don't know, do you? You know, like other people could just be better than what you were, but you got into really good shape. But unfortunately, that's not good enough. But like it could still be a really good performance. So I don't know, just get in really good shape, have a good race, and then hopefully that will get me some momentum. And then if South Africa did go well, then I'll pursue the Ironman Pro Series. If it doesn't, then I'd pursue something else. But you know, just thinking positive and hoping the first 2 races go really well, and then setting me up for a good year. And yeah, just going for that, and then I'd like to have another go at the World Championships. Unfortunately, it's in Nice, which I don't think suits me as well as what the Kona course would. But yeah, I'd like to give that. I'd like to potentially have a good crack at that.
Of course, mate. Like in the end, you're my pal, you know. So, and I can see you working hard every week, and we're having a chat on the podcast every week. I want you to do well, you know. I think I hope you're going to do well this year. Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
yeah, just give it a good crack really, and just concentrate on my training really, and like if that goes well and I train as good as what I can, then whatever happens, happens, doesn't it? You know, I can't control what
Yeah, of
everyone else.
course. No. Yeah.
You know, I could beat them, they could beat me. But like, if I get to the start line, I feel like execute a really good swim, I hold a really good power for myself on the bike, and then do a really good run. You know, hold a good, like actually run to my ability and hold a decent run speed.
Yeah.
Then that should be good enough to get a result. I haven't had a good run really for what I would say is a really good run since 2022. I'd say,
Yeah.
like, you know, like
Since
actually,
Wales.
yeah, since Wales. That or yeah, and like Kona, although it wasn't as good as what I know I can run in that heat, it's mainly because I struggle in the heat. But it was still
No.
my fastest run in Kona, and it was still a decent run. I mean, if I'd have run that this year, it would have been the second fastest run I think of the day. So you know,
Hmm.
it was still half decent. Um, yeah, I'd like to do a good run because in 2023 and 2024 I have been in really good run shape, but just haven't executed it in an Ironman. So I really want to, and that was always my strength before. Was always the run. You know, I would always execute a
I
really
know.
good run.
I
So
know.
yeah, I'd like to be back executing a really.
What do you think this year? Why you didn't run as quick in as in for example back then in 2022?
I don't know. I don't know. It's a good question because I've been wondering that myself because I've been in better run shape. I've done like some good volume as well leading into the
Hmm.
races this year, but it just didn't really click on race day.
Yeah,
I've been doing more run volume now and a decent amount of biking recently. So hopefully that will set me up. It would be interesting to see how the first race goes in 2025 because this
because
last like 3 months.
your run in a 70.3 has become quicker. Your
Yeah,
10K run has become quicker, and you always ran. I think up until I don't know if the stats still count, but up until like a year ago or 2 years ago, you were the athlete that ran the most amount of marathons in an Ironman under 240 or under
yeah,
245. It was one of them, together with Cameron Brown back in then. Um, so running is your strength.
yeah. So I don't know really. This it's just strange that it just didn't feel, but it didn't feel as good from the start as well. It
Hmm.
wasn't like I was starting off well, feeling good on the run and then fading. It was like I didn't really feel as good at the start, and that could be a lot down to the bike as well, potentially. You know, maybe
Yeah.
being not quite as strong on the bike, so you're getting off a bit more fatigued, and then not being able to execute your run. Because I think a lot of it in an Ironman isn't necessarily being a really good runner. You're going to run well. It's like how fresh are you getting off the bike, you know, and
Hmm.
how well, and then because you know if you get off the bike and you're pretty smashed, you can be an amazing runner. You see some age groupers that have got some cracking marathon times, you know, like they're 220 marathoners, but
Yeah.
they can't barely break 3 hours for an Ironman off the bike. And I think a lot of that is just because they're not very strong on the bike. So I think like to do a good Ironman marathon, you need to be like really strong on the bike because to be honest, the pros aren't running that fast. Like if you're running under 240, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that quick, but you need to be fresh to do it, you know? So you can be potentially not a really quick runner, but if you're very strong on the bike and you get off feeling good, you can actually be a good runner in triathlon terms, you know?
I know. Yeah, I know. But in the like you say, trust on the training that you're doing now. I mean, you've been blocking consistent training since September. And also, I think what you've learned from this year is that all the travel, what you did with your race program last year and chasing the Ironman Pro Series, maybe also didn't work too well because you're going from race to race, and also because you were picking more races because some races didn't go as planned. And it's going to cost you training, and you won't be as fit. You know, it's
And
this.
also, the travel takes so much out of you when you do
Yeah.
that series like that, because like you're traveling like all the way across the world. It's like 1 minute you're in Europe, next you're in America, then you could be in Australia, then back to Europe. It's just like you wouldn't plan a season, traveling like that, So I think you've got to be really careful if you go for the series. Like if you don't manage to nail a couple of races that work really well for you in terms of like when they're located and how far you have to travel for them, you're massively on the back foot, and that travel is what really gets people.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's pretty crazy. Like it's amazing how Cat Matthews managed to do well in the T100 and the Ironman Pro Series with all that travel, because
Yeah.
I feel like that's the killer.
Yeah, you could also see that with Braden Curry this year.
Yeah, I think people just get into the trap, because the trap is, there's loads of prize money. It's the Ironman Pro Series. It's 200K for the win. And it's like, yeah, it's really good if you win it, but if you finish 10th in the series, you only get $10,000 bonus, which like there's no extra prize money really in the races. So you've done all this traveling, you've got $10,000 bonus. You've probably got no sponsorship bonuses for podiums, because you probably haven't podiumed if you've only finished 10th, or if you have, probably in one race. So you're not actually getting that much unless you podium or top four in the series. Financially, I don't really think it's that great.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. If you win it, it's
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
You finish 15th, you've got 10
But
grand.
that's also because you have got a lot of sponsor bonuses, so you're better off targeting other races then and do really well there, because then it will end up being
But even
more.
if people haven't got sponsorship bonuses, I think they're even better
Yeah.
targeting not the Pro Series, because the races are so competitive. They're probably not getting any prize money from them, and they're fighting for scraps of $10,000 at the end of the year. But their travel expenses are going to be way more than the money they're going to win. Whereas they could target another race, which, like for instance, like some of the races that aren't in the Pro Series only have 10 pros turn up, so they've
Hmm.
got a chance they could potentially get a race result where they're going to get a few thousands of dollars, um, and they're not losing at a race, because a lot of these guys that do the Pro Series will have lost money at every single race they go to, and they'll make $10,000 at the end of the year, but they'll have spent more than 10 grand if they worked out all their costs. They'll have spent more getting to all the races and racing than they'll have made, and that could be from anyone that finishes 10th to 50th overall.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you've like managed to get on the podium in some of the races, or you've managed to get some like top fives, you've probably done all right. But then the argument is, if you've got a top five in a Pro Series, you probably could have won another race that wasn't in the Pro Series. You know, and then how much more does a win help you in terms of getting sponsors down the line, increasing your social media profile,
Well, that's
and all
the
that?
thing in the end. I think one win or one podium isn't going to get you anywhere,
No,
because
but what?
nowadays,
What's an
um,
eighth in a Pro Series race going to get you?
yeah, also nothing. I think because
Yeah,
there are just so many categories of races. There's so many races: short distance, middle distance, aquathlon to blah blah blah, and also in the age groups. And everyone wants a sponsor in the end. Um, yeah,
the key has probably got to be to try and make decent some decent content, really, as well as doing well on the race course, isn't it?
yeah.
Because people want to follow the journey, don't they? You know, but
Legit,
it's got to be like I don't know, like a lot of people try and do it, and I think
or
they
have a podcast.
yeah,
You
podcast.
can make a great living off that.
If I had to use the money that we make from the podcast, I'd be living in a cardboard box, like outside a shop, trying to like with my hand out with a little hole cut out where I'd stick my hand out, like begging people for like scraps off their McDonald's or something. Like,
Back in the days when I had Allianz as a sponsor, and they dropped me back then because of the cancellations.
the can-
The cancellations.
cancellations are people. It is a cancel culture nowadays, though, isn't it?
Which if you look back at it now, because that was also during a period where uh, cancel culture was new. I think nowadays it wouldn't work as well anymore, because also companies now would um, afterwards is really strange if you think back how it went. They got an email from someone that well, I'm not going into the details, but they're getting an email from someone. I could literally send a mail to, for example, a company and say, well, this coworker has done some really bad stuff to, well, let's say something grim, kids. Then you can't think that a boss would then immediately fire this coworker. A story is always two sides of the story. Is this story true? Did it really happen? You always need to fact check stuff, or need to check, like, did this really happen?
It's,
Or
It does still
or
happen
is
like
it
that,
out of proportion?
but it does still happen like that because I listened to Sweat Elite podcast with Matt Fox, and he got cancelled over a disagreement. They wrote a load of stuff on forums and message boards, and he lost a lot of sponsors for his podcast and stuff because people like they didn't even like ask him about it or anything. They just dropped him straight away.
But what did he do, and what did he say?
Nothing. It was just to do with like the Palestine Israel thing.
Oh, that's
He
always
just
so
had
dangerous.
he just had some opinions on that, and
Yeah.
one of the guys was part of the Israeli Defense Force or something. Didn't like what he said, and kind of kicked off on like some forums, made some stuff up about him, contacted sponsors, and that's it. He lost a load.
Really?
People, yeah, I think it's crazy, mate. You say that,
And then in the
people,
end, also because we're doing it for fun, you're sacrificing. I'm sacrificing multiple hours a week because I'm also editing and then doing the social media. But you're sacrificing it for fun and not for commercial purposes. And then in the end, it's going to cost you. But luckily, we are now past that, and we can look back at it. You can tell the story later on to Arabella, like, "Oh, Daddy did some goofy shit back in the days."
but Noel Mulkey tries to cancel people, doesn't he?
Does he?
Yeah, he tried to cancel that Matt Choi. Can you remember the runner
Oh
from
yeah,
New
that
York
is true.
Marathon? Tried to screenshot my messages and like try and get me cancelled. Like it's people like him you got to watch out for.
Did he?
Yeah, like he's a wily old fox, mate.
Aw. The bullshit buster, mate.
Bullshit buster. I think that so the bullshit buster that I thought is, and some people will be massively against this, I know, and I think the Festive 500. This is basically my opinion, so you can agree with it or not. It's totally up to you. Uh, the Festive 500 doesn't count if you do it indoors in Zwift. And for anyone that doesn't know what the Festive 500 is, it's a 500 kilometers of riding between Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. So basically, you're doing it all over Christmas, Boxing Day, days up until New Year's Eve. And I think, to be honest, it's a bit pointless anyway. Like, I feel like it's more of a time of chilling out, relaxing, knocking it down a level or two over the Christmas period and just having some time with the family. But anyway, if you want to do it, fair enough, good training. But the Festive 500 doesn't count if you're indoors. If you do it on Zwift, fair enough, you've got a good training weekend and you can say that. But you don't the part of the appeal of the Festive 500, if you're going to do it, is you're battling the elements in a shitty time of year, isn't it? That's part of it.
I think that's the real deal. Also because a 30K, 30-kilometer ride outdoors is much grimmier than 30Ks in what is it on Zwift, because 30K is literally 40 minutes on this Tempest Virgit. If you've got a really good bike and wheel setup, you can dust off a 45K an hour ride in no time.
Zwift cheats as well with your overall speeds. The speeds you hold on Zwift are crazy high compared to what you do on the roads. I mean, like compared to British roads, I go on Zwift, I'm like, even when I do like mountain routes, I'm averaging 32, 33 Ks an hour. It's like, that is total bollocks. Like, you'd never do that like round here, and if I had that amount of climbing on the roads. But yeah, people are doing it on Tempest Fugit where they're riding 40 kilometers an hour off like 200 odd watts. It's just, come on, guys, like, you're kidding yourselves. Like,
and whilst you're battling then 500Ks on Zwift and the whole family is like together, like the only time a year where the triathlete or cyclist gets to spend time with his family, he comes up with this flipping thing to have more miles outside and be away from his family again. That's nuts. It's actually nuts if you think about it.
It is nuts. Yeah, that is. I do think it is nuts like that. Like, if I said to, you could just imagine, couldn't you, say to your family, like, yeah, we'll have a good Christmas this year. And then, like, you're all like there, you're all chilling out, you're going to go out for some nice walks and stuff like that. And then they're like, what are you doing? Why have you got your kit on? Oh, yeah, I'm doing the Festive 500 now. Yeah. So between Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, I'm going to be outside. I'm going to be gone.
I know this summer I've got this busy Ironman schedule, but right now, over Christmas, I know I've got this new bike under the tree as well that I gifted myself. And I'm going to do the Festive 500. Yeah, it is. The
Festive 500 is not for family man, is it? The Festive 500 is for a single man. that's
It
got
is for
nothing.
a single man or a single woman or single
Yeah.
whatever, or a she, her,
Or a
it.
couple that love cycling. If you're a
Exactly.
couple that love cycling, then yeah, you do it to a challenge together. If you're a single man or a single woman, but I can't imagine a single woman would really get so caught up on it. There might be a few, but I imagine that like a lot of men, it's more of a man.
And also, a festive 500 in a sunny country also doesn't count.
Oh, and yeah, a sunny country is just like you're bloody lucky that you've got Christmas at, like in summer. Because if it was in summer, then yeah, it would be great and fair play. Like, but it's just like but that is the appeal in the Northern Hemisphere, though, isn't it? It is. If you are going to do it, you're battling the elements, you're in crappy conditions, short days, and you're getting 500k done. And fair play to you, it's pretty hard to get 500k done during
It
Christmas
is.
and New Year.
It gets dark soon. It gets light late. It's cold, miserable. It was flippin' wet over the last couple of days. So you really must hate your family if you completed this challenge just this year.
If you want to do the Festive 500 and you've got a family, you probably want to think about getting a divorce. Because
And
it's
then
not
afterwards, you literally like after 3 or 4 months, maybe the partner will be like, "Hey, I just don't think it's gonna work out. You just think too much about yourself. Why? When? What are you talking about?"
I've only done the Festive 500 and the March 1000.
The March 1000.
The Easter, there's the Easter 1000, and then there's the Christmas, there's the summer longest day, and then my Ironman schedule. Did I tell you about the training camps that I've got?
By the way, I've got a marathon planned with Chris and Fab because we had nothing in Fab.
Yeah, can we go on holiday this year? Oh, I would have, but I've got like 4 Ironmans booked and 3 training camps. I haven't got any more spare time, I'm afraid.
And also, I can't be messing around all day. You know, I gotta be staying fit because I'm targeting that sub 15 hours. Yeah, it's
Goggins would be all on it, wouldn't he? Though Goggins,
and that's the thing that I've learned over the last couple of years, and that I've just posted online on the gram, is that I didn't even post it online. I would say when I'm training hard, but when I'm doing something that I've got the time to do something else, and get your mind off the training a little bit and spend some time with friends, family, or whatever, I want to commit it fully to that. And when I'm doing that, I don't want to be busy in my head with, oh shoot, I'm not training these days, I'm going to be so unfit, I'm not going to be the best version of myself, because that actually is the part of you that you actually need to get rid of to be a better version of yourself. Because then in the end, you end up spending times with maybe your mom and dad or your parents, but you're not really there, you know, or you're on a holiday, but you're not really enjoying the holiday because you're constantly thinking about losing the fitness. And that's called obsession.
Yeah, you have to be obsessed to do an Ironman, don't you? To train for him properly.
Well, in a certain way, you got to be, but it's important to sometimes let it loose and enjoy what you're doing. For example, Pepe's training for Ironman Hamburg, and he's going skiing with a couple of friends, like a couple of his mates in January for a week. And I said, you're not going to ride or swim that week anyway, you know, just do free runs and just enjoy the time that you're there, because you planned it anyway. You're going there, just enjoy it to the max and make the most out of it instead of regretting it every day, because then you look back on a period that you did it, but you didn't do it.
Yeah. Pepe's short in the game. He's going to be...
I mean, of course it's different for you, because for you, it's your job.
Yeah, I think if you're an amateur, you shouldn't be getting obsessed over it, really, should you?
Exactly.
It would be crazy, because it's just like, it's no different really than someone that's got a keen interest for going to the gym and stuff and doing like normal competitions. Like triathletes just do get like flipping obsessed with it. When you think like, you know, your normal runner and stuff, or like normal sports people, they don't get that obsessed, do they? You know, like a gym goer and stuff like that.
I mean, gym goers as well, they get really obsessed with nutrition. You know, if they go on a holiday, they just don't want to eat the German schnitzels and pommes and currywurst, because my six-pack's going to disappear.
Do they get that bad?
Huh? Yeah, it is. With
really?
a lot of, of course. That's the thing with gym people. I don't know what it is in Hyrox. But I can tell you one bullshit buster from Hyrox, and then we're going to cut the show because we're an hour in, and it's going to be New Year's Eve, and I'm going to go over to friends for dinner. Now, Listen up, Joe. This is a massive bullshit buster. During Hyrox, you can see a lot of people running with these nasal strips
Oh yeah,
to
what the hell
open
are
up the airways so they got more airflow. It's flipping bullshit. I mean, you can try and get more air in, but maybe if you're sick, it helps. But if you don't have a runny nose, it ain't gonna help because you've got your lung capacity and you've got your O2 capacity in the muscles. It's not gonna work.
I thought that as well. That's exactly what I thought. Like you can take more air in, but it's your body's ability to actually be able to process it, isn't it?
Exactly.
Like so, it's like, what does it matter? Because I could breathe like loads of deep breaths, but if my body can't utilize that O2, it doesn't make any
It's
difference. Does it?
it's waste. It's a waste of oxygen,
Yeah,
carbon dioxide, and also
you're just taking air away from the trees.
you're taking it and from the other people in the area. Maybe that's the thing. You want to take the air away from other people,
They're
so
just
they're
making the animals suffer outside by lowering their O2 concentration. Just
you're better
cruel
off. Like,
people.
get rid of this expensive flipping nose strips. I can see these influencers posting about it as well. Use my Sniffy 10 with 10% off.
Oh God, do you know what I find so cringy is just like the influencers that will literally sell their flipping family member for some money and social media.
What?
You not literally, but you just see it on social media nowadays. The amount of influencers I see, it has just got fucking crazy, and they'll literally sell whatever anyone puts near them for a dime.
Like
Like
what?
they would literally
Give us
sell.
an example.
Oh, all kinds of shit, mate. Like I'll find some and I'll send them to you. Like they're just like they'll literally, and then they post about like training, and their training advice is absolutely horrific. Like I saw
I
one
told
about
you. I told you.
some woman the other day who was an influencer posting up these. This is what I do to be able to run. I always get asked how I can run races at a high heart rate. This is what I do. No, love, it's just genetic. You've just got a high heart rate. That's why
Yeah.
you're able to run races at a high heart rate. It's nothing you're fucking doing. Like you've just naturally got a higher heart rate than someone like me. And
Maybe
like
the Lionel Sanders should reply on it because his heart rate, what is it, like
yeah,
130 at
exactly.
threshold?
Yeah, exactly.
You
It's
could say
just
like, "Oh, teach me, honey."
you must see it. You must see the stuff what they're doing. They're always trying to sell something, and it looks so fake. It's like literally they do one promotion post, like oh, this is the best kit I've ever used. This is the jacket that I'm. This is one what I saw the woman. That yeah, this jacket's absolutely brilliant. This clothing company is absolutely awesome. I went to one of her previous posts, and she was in a completely different brand. So they obviously sent her something and said, "Oh, can you post this up? How much do you charge for a post or for a reel on your Instagram?" She said, "Whatever." So she posted it up, and then she's like, literally, her post before and her post after are just in completely different branded kit. So she made this one
It
reel up.
also winds me up because I think it's disinformation.
It is.
Disinformation.
It's just like she's just doing it to make an easy couple of quid. If she genuinely thought it was the best stuff she'd ever used, then why is she still not using it? And
But
why is she not using it?
if you want to open up your airways, don't spend money on one of these flipping plastics on your nose or sniff stuff. What you could use is what they do in cycling, and it is salbutamol.
Some people, just just get the proper stuff, guys. Don't worry, you're a Hyrox athlete. There's no testing in Hyrox, so
What is it? What they use for the time trial? That is legal, though. They put it in their nose to open up the airways. What is that?
steroids.
Yeah. What is that again? It's like a mental thing, huh?
Is that not what they use in cycling?
That's what they use in triathlon. Alrighty, amigo. Let's wrap it up. I'm gonna wish you a happy New Year tonight. Although this is coming up on the 1st of January. You told me that you're not gonna make 12, right? You're gonna sleep.
Oh, I
before
won't
12?
make 12. Yeah, I won't make 12 o'clock. No, I'll be in bed before then.
All right. Yeah, you're coming from New Zealand.
I'm just, like I haven't done it for years. I just found myself doing it. If I was going to like a house party or something like that, yeah, I probably would. But I just feel like I'd be waiting up for the sake of it. I'll watch a film and stuff like that. But to be honest, I'm not that fast. I'm not a New Year's person.
Fair enough.
But have a good one. Have a good one.
Thanks, mate. I'll speak to you next week and crush in training. Dogs, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.